It was just really difficult watch. I'm sure you were all part of the millions that watched it last night. And it was just that honesty. It's very, very difficult to sometimes come to things. There's a lot of people feel shame that they can't. You're like, no, but no one can. This is where we're at, and this is now, of course, is what Kate's fighting for.
Yeah, she's always been really open and honest throughout this whole terrible ordeal that her and her family have gone through. And I think you're right, the word shame is wrongly attached to financial issues, and when you're trying to care for a loved one, because you want to give and do everything you can for that person, and she did that for Derek. But I think what she's doing that is positive from this is she's shining a light on there are so many hidden costs, not just for carers, but anybody who's living with a disease or disability, whether your treatment's on the NHS or not, there'll be extortionate hospital parking fees, there'll be overnight stays, prescriptions that don't fall under the NHS, and so much admin that nobody really understands until they go through it or have a loved one that's dealing with it.
Interestingly, she did say in the documentary last night, it really hit me, like, about sort of regrets or could you do things differently? And she looking back throughout the past couple of years, she thinks of all the wasted moments where she could have been holding Derek's hand when she's had to do an email or pick a phone up to try and fight for help. And you think this is real life for so many people. And the most interesting part of the documentary for me was Kate said, we are all going to have to be cared for. All of us, in some shape or fashion. So let's not shy away from it. Let's have something in place that works.
Yeah.
And talk about it whilst we're well. You know, talk to our loved ones and make it clear and, where possible, make a plan. But, you know, it goes back to anything can happen at any time. You don't always have that time to plan financially or logistically.
And it's the whole family is affected, isn't it, Kate?
Yeah, I think it is. It's the wider family as well, you know, see that tragedy, which we're privileged to be sort of brought into Kate's life to sort of understand the impacts. But after the person's passed away, there's still the emotional impact, the physical impact that you might have had because your health has deteriorated whilst you're looking after somebody else, the financial impact on the rest of the family and the bonds that you all had. You know, so it's ongoing and ongoing. And then if you add what Kate said about the financial impact, which so many people would relate to, how do you rebuild your life? You know, because if some people are thinking, well, if I get ill, it's going to cost me this amount to look after somebody or myself. But you've got to live day to day as well. You know, you've still got to put food on the table, you've still got to pay your mortgage, you've still got to do everything else. So you don't actually think about the fundamental issues of something maybe happening. And that's the thing, you then get in crisis because you're not planning. I'm not currently planning to pass away tomorrow and leave everything
even
behind.
For Kate as
but
well,
what would happen?
She's got childcare, you know, she's got children and she's effectively a single parent now. And childcare, as we know, is expensive in this country too. The logistics of it, it's incredibly difficult.
I don't know if anyone actually knows what the cost is. You know, we have NHS who obviously fund a huge amount for us, which is amazing. But at what point does that stop? At what point are you then going, we spoke about charities or other support? Because I don't think any of us know. And it would be nice to have more information about that.
It's so true, because it's like these things can happen where you just don't expect it and suddenly you find yourself in the position, which Kate did, of course.
I think, like the girls are saying, it's that not understanding of what would be covered, what wouldn't, and you see someone who's from the telly and you think, oh, you're going to have loads of money. You say, if Kate couldn't afford it, she couldn't cover it, how can anyone else? You know, it just shows what an enormous financial undertaking it is. And I think she's very brave because, like you said, there's a lot of shame attached to talking about finances, you know, and people do shy away from it. I understand why they do, because also we live in a society where people are very quick to judge and be like, well, what did you do with your money before or whatever? And, like, she's highlighted this as a situation that anyone could find themselves in because, like you say, we none of us think it's going to happen to us. We don't. You don't live going through life thinking I'm going to be in a situation where I have to care for my non-elderly husband. You just don't, but I
always hate that when you see online those slogans of, like, health is wealth, because you actually think there's people who are never blessed to be born with good health. People are born with diseases and disability, and they can't access that. And it kind of excludes you to think, well, that's not an option for me if you've had a bad accident, you know. I mean, people do their best with their health, but sometimes that's taken out of their hands. So even those kind of slogans can be quite toxic.
No,
I agree with that statement, but I think, you know, on the flip of it, I think the takeaway that I take from that slogan, which I agree, I don't love that the way it's worded, is I think any money or time you do spend on your health is valuable. Like, I think that is never money wasted if you have the ability to do that.
Yeah, very much so. And if you are a carer at home and you're watching this right now, I'd say we salute you because it's hopefully the spotlight is on the carers right now off the back of that. It's a very, very, very powerful documentary. It's available to catch up on ITVX, and if any of the issues we've just discussed affects you, please head to our website where you will be guided to lots of different helplines.